So these beauties are the things that we're going to be testing today to see if they are Bakelite. Got some lovely bangles and bracelets, got a lovely pair of dress clips and a necklace and more bangles. So that's what we're testing. I've got my Bakelite and plastic books, which are good for referencing, and then I've got all my materials that I need to do the actual testing itself. So let's get started. Hey up and welcome back to the channel. So if you're new here, my name is Emma and I am a vintage enthusiast, collector, repairer, restorer, and then anything I can't repair or restore, I upcycle into new jewellery. So today we're going to be looking at Bakelite, which is something I have always wanted to find in the wild, so whilst I'm out thrifting and looking in places, and it's something that a lot of people collect, so I thought I would do a video to show you how you can identify it. So it is quite unique, and there are things about the plastic that you can learn that will help you identify it. So there are some things that you can do on the spot whilst you're out and about if you find a piece, and then there are some things that you can do at home with some really simple household items. So let's get stuck in. So we'll start with a little history lesson. Bakelite was the first fully synthetic plastic to be created, and it was invented in 1907 by a Belgian chemist called Leo Bakelite. I'm not sure if I've pronounced his surname right, but I'll pop his name up here so you could look that information up. So it is a registered trademark, and Bakelite was particularly popular between the 1920s and 1940s, and it was used in lots of different things. So they made jewellery, so they made bangles and necklaces and brooches. They made belt buckles, so the buckles that kind of hook together. They made telephones, clocks, you name it, lots of things were used with Bakelite, and it was particularly useful because it could be moulded really quickly, and also it was very heat resistant as well, so it was particularly useful in the electrical industry and in engineering. It was actually used in the first atomic bomb. So Bakelite was super popular during the Art Deco period, and then towards the end of the 1940s, during the Second World War, it fell out of favour and other plastics came onto the market that kind of superseded and took over from Bakelite. So Bakelite came in a variety of colours, and some of them are more popular than others, particularly if you're collecting Bakelite. And also some colours are more valuable as well. So people love to search for the cherry red Bakelite, which is really rich cherry red colour, and that can go for hundreds if you see that. There are other plastics that look very similar, which is why it's important to learn how to identify it. But if you do find some cherry red Bakelite, then yeah, well done. I'm still on the lookout. That is one that I would like to tick off the list. Another popular colour is the like an egg yolk yellow. That's really popular, and green as well. And sometimes these colours would have other colours kind of mixed in with them, so they kind of have a end of day mottledy kind of mixed marbled look to them. You can, if you look up on the internet, see like a colour chart. So some companies would produce a colour chart with the samples so that you could see the different colours. So that's quite interesting. And also I would recommend having some books to hand as well. So have a look at the colours, have a look at some colour photographs and familiarise yourself with the colours. Right, let's get on to the fun part. So, testing Bakelite. So as I've already said, it is a plastic. It is a very heavy, dense, hard-wearing plastic. One of the first things you can do to check if a piece of jewellery is Bakelite is to sniff it. So using your sensors. Now, I will warn you, if you are sensitive to smells, if smells kind of trigger headaches or migraines, just be very careful because the smell can be quite potent, quite strong. It can make some people feel sick. So just be aware of that if you are looking for Bakelite and you decide to do the sniff test. So all you need to do is you take your piece, whether it's, you know, a brooch, a bangle, whatever it is, and you can do this in the shop. So if you're in a charity shop, if you're in an antique store, if you're at a car boot sale and you want to have a quick test, this is a really handy one. So what you do is you take your piece and then you rub it really vigorously on something to create friction and heat. And then the heat releases the smell. So when you have a piece of Bakelite, it has a very sickly sweet, chemically smell to it, and that is formaldehyde, which I think is a horrible smell. Some people absolutely love it, but over time you'll become familiar with it. So the more pieces that you find, the more identifying that you do, you'll become familiar with that scent. And some pieces are stronger than others, so that's something to bear in mind. If it only has a really faint smell, I would advise that you do some of the other tests that I'm going to show you. So never rely just on one test. So the sniff test is a really, really good one, but then I would pair it with some other tests as well to really confirm a positive result. So yeah, using your snoz will help you to identify Bakelite. So if you decide to purchase the piece that you've found and you take it home, another way to do the sniff test is to pour some boiling water over it, or run it under the hot tap, or submerge it in some hot water, and that will warm the plastic up, and then you can take it out and have another sniff and see if you can smell that chemical formaldehyde smell. And like I say, just be careful because it can be really, really strong, and it does make some people feel quite sickly. So there we go, that's the sniff test. So the next thing that you can do is use your ears. So apparently Bakelite has a slightly different sound to other plastics. Because it's a dense, heavy plastic, it has a different sound when it's tapped, either two pieces tapped together or tapped against a hard surface, or even using your fingernail just to tap the surface. And the sound that you will get is like a really light click, like a tappity, clickety, tappity, is that a word? Sound, whereas other plastics seem to have more of a deep sound to them. It's quite hard to demonstrate on camera, but when you have some pieces, just play around and do some tapping and see what you think. I have two pieces that I know are Bakelite, so I shall tap these together and see if you can hear the light sound. So that is the sound that you get. If you were to tap two other plastics together, you can hear the slight variation in the sound. And again, I wouldn't rely just on that one test. I would make sure that I'm doing a few of these different tests together so that you get several positive results. And then that's more of a confirmation that you do actually have some Bakelite. So another thing you can do is train your eyes to recognise Bakelite. So if you have a few pieces, I'd recommend keeping some at home so that you can use them to compare with other things that you find. But also look out for things like seams. So where something's been moulded and you can see the seam where it's been joined together. Bakelite will not have a seam. So the way that it was moulded meant that it was seamless. So if you have a piece of plastic that does have seams on, you know for sure that that is not Bakelite. Over time, you'll also become familiar with the colours. So I have already mentioned the cherry red, the yellow, egg yolk yellow, the green. There were also purples, oranges. Some Bakelite is opaque in appearance, some is translucent. So again, I would recommend familiarising yourself, having a few pieces at home that you can use for comparison. And also books. Books are a fantastic resource. So I have a couple of books that I like to use. So this one is the Collector's Corner Bakelite Jewellery. So here you can see some of the colours that we've already talked about. And then this one is brilliant because it's absolutely packed with colour images. So if I just find a page to show you. So there we go. So that's some examples of some brooches made out of the Bakelite. And this book has all the different types of jewellery in it. So it has the bangles, the brooches, the necklaces, hairpins, watches made out of Bakelite as well. And it got some really good examples of the colours, the different colours that you would get. So that's a fantastic book to have. And then the other one that I have, which isn't just about Bakelite, it's about other plastics as well. There we go, Plastic Jewellery. And that one is by, it's a Schiffer book. Nancy Schiffer. And this talks about Bakelite, but it also talks about the other plastics, so the plastics that came before and after Bakelite. So it's really good for familiarising yourself with those as well, because other plastics are collectible, not just Bakelite. And again, this one is absolutely jam-packed with colour images so that you can familiarise yourself with the different pieces. And Bakelite is known to develop a patina over time on the surface. It can actually, if it isn't taken care of or if it is left out in sunlight, it can actually go really brittle as well. So you might notice that Bakelite pieces have chips on them, scratches on them, where they've gone brittle over time and cracked and chipped. So the next thing that you can check is the weight of the item. So because Bakelite is quite a dense, heavy plastic, it should feel heavier in the hand than a different type of plastic like lucite or celluloid or a modern resin, something like that. So you could hold it with something that you know isn't Bakelite and see if there's a difference. And again, you know, this can be really, really difficult. I find it quite difficult with the weighing side of it. So always make sure that you use some of the other tests as well, and some of the other tests that I'm going to show you to make sure that you've got a positive result. Another thing to remember is that any fastenings or hardware on a piece of Bakelite, so for example, on a brooch on the back, you will have the pin. So on a piece of Bakelite, that would have been attached and set into the plastic, or it would have been riveted in place. So there would have been holes drilled and then two little rivets put in to hold the pin in place. Similar to other fastenings, you will never find a piece of Bakelite where the pin or the fastening has been glued into place, unless someone's done a really crude repair at home and they've glued it on themselves. Bakelite fastenings were always riveted on or set into the plastic itself. So now we can move on to some of the tests that you can do at home. So if you think you found a piece of Bakelite and it's quite, you know, cheap to purchase, then sometimes it's worth taking that risk, buying it, bringing it home, and then doing these extra tests to see if you actually found some Bakelite. So the things that I have here are kind of usual household items that you might have in the cupboard. I have, one of the tests is using baking soda. So I have a little glass bowl, and inside I've mixed up 2 teaspoons of baking soda, baking powder, and then I've mixed that up with a few drips of water until I've got like a really firm paste. And there's plenty there. You really don't need very much at all to do the test. So that's definitely something that you might have in the cupboard that you can use. And if you haven't, it's relatively cheap to buy as well from the supermarket. You can get a little tub of it for probably about 80-90 pence in a supermarket. So that's the baking soda. The other thing that I'm going to use is a metal polish. Now, if you watch other people's videos or you Google how to test Bakelite, you'll come across something called Simmerchrome, which is a metal polish, very popular in the USA. However, you can get hold of it in the UK, but it is particularly expensive. So it comes in a tube, and I had a quick search the other day, and at the moment it sells for around £22. You can get it on eBay and you can purchase it on Amazon as well. Now, to me, that's quite expensive. However, if you are, you know, really into Bakelite, you're going to be purchasing items all the time and you want to be sure that you have a piece of Bakelite, then invest in the Simmerchrome, because I've heard wonderful things about it. It gives a really good positive or negative result. However, in the UK, a different type of metal polish that you can use is Brasso. So you might recognise this. When I was younger, you used to get it in a tin. So it used to come in a little metal tin and you would use a cotton pad to scoop some out and use it to polish your metal. This can be used to polish stainless steel, aluminium, bronze, chrome, pewter, brass and copper. And as well as polishing, you can use it to test your Bakelite as well. A word of warning when it comes to the metal polishers, because these have got chemicals in them, again, they smell really strong. So I would use these in a well-ventilated area, so open your windows, maybe sit by the window if you're going to be using it. You only need a very, very tiny amount, so you shouldn't really be overpowered by the fumes. But I just wanted to mention it just so that you're aware in case you are sensitive to the smell. So I have a tray of items that I would like to test. So I'll try and hold those up. So we've got some nice bangles, bracelets, we've got a necklace and a pair of, these are beautiful. I really love these. These are a pair of Art Deco dress clips. They've got the clip on the back and they've got some nice rhinestone detail to them. So I'm going to test each of these with each of the different methods, and then you'll be able to see the results. And what I will do is I'll lay some of the results out and do a bit of a close-up as well, so that you can see the colour change and familiarise yourself with that. So first of all, I wanted to test this bangle. So this is kind of like a root beer, ambery brown bangle. I collect this stuff, I really love it. I think it looks really nice on. I've got quite a few of these that are stacked together. So we'll give that a test with the baking soda first, see what that's like. I have prepared all of these items in advance, so it is advisable that you take each piece and you give it a light clean. So I just used a wetter cloth and I used that with a little bit of washing up liquid and just gave everything a quick surface clean, and that's to remove any surface dirt. So that is advisable, because if you don't do that, you might get a negative result. It might just pick up all the dirt instead of actually testing the plastic itself. Right, so I've got my paste that's made out of the baking soda and water, and I'm just going to get some of that paste on my little cotton bud, or Q-tip as they call them in America. I'm going to test this on the inside, so I'm just going to find a little spot, and then I'm just going to rub that on the inside. Give it a good rub. It's not going to do any damage to your piece, so you can have a really good rub around with that. Quite like the sound it makes, actually. There we go. And then we can see there that there's absolutely no colour change whatsoever. So that piece, I would assume from that test, is not Bakelite. A positive test would turn yellow, and it's quite a strong yellow as well, although some pieces will give a darker yellow result than others, so that's worth knowing. So we've got a no for that one. I pretty much believe that this is not Bakelite. I think this is lucite, but we'll do the test anyway, just to be sure. So a clean end. Don't use the same end as you used before. A little bit of the baking soda paste, and then we're just going to rub lightly on the surface. And again, I don't really expect this to give a positive result, but we'll give it a test anyway, just to see. Yep, no colour change whatsoever. So that's definitely not. Get myself another Q-tip. I've got quite a few pieces to test. One or two I know are Bakelite already, so I know that I can show you a positive test, but some of them I'm unsure of. So for example, this necklace, I haven't tested this, and I've had this a while, and I was just unsure because this has got quite a nice egg yolk yellow to it, and it's got some patina around the top as well where it's darkened, and then these sections here are quite similar to the Bakelite colours, so I thought this might be a nice piece to test and see what we have. There are lots and lots of fakes out there, so that's why the testing is so important, and I think it's best to have a few positive test results as well across the different methods, particularly if you are keeping it for your collection, you want to confirm that it's Bakelite, but also if you are selling it on as well. You don't want to be selling something that you think is Bakelite and then someone purchases it and does a test and they're really disappointed because it's not. You want to be able to say that you've done the test, you've done several tests, and you've got positive results. And when you get a positive result and you've got the yellow on your Q-tip, you can show that as well. So when people sell this on Etsy or on eBay, they'll have the item and then they'll have the Q-tip with the yellow colour on there to show that it's been tested. So I think that's a really good way of proving to people that it's a positive piece. So I'm going to quickly get some of my paste on my Q-tip. And I'm going to test the yellow bead first. Give it a nice rub. No reaction to that one. So I'm going to turn it around, use the other end, and I'm going to test the orangey coloured ones as well. So one of these ones. Give that a nice rub. Nope, that is definitely not Bakelite. Now, these dress clips, hopefully you can see the colour of these. But these are known as apple juice Bakelite because of the colour and the kind of translucent look to them. So, and it does look like apple juice to me. So this piece I am going to do the baking soda test on. So I'm going to get myself a clean Q-tip. Get some of the baking powder. I'm going to do it on the back. There. I'm just going to give it a rub. Fantastic. So you should be able to see that there is a yellow stain on that Q-tip. I have got a piece of paper somewhere that I could hold up just so that you can get a clearer look. There we go. So it's got a nice yellow stain to it. So that is definitely Bakelite, which is fantastic. Now with these, they have a very strong smell as well. I can smell the formaldehyde before I've even rubbed that, so it is very, very strong. These were made in the USA, it says on the back there. So what I'll do is I'll keep these. I mean, I love them anyway, but these will be a really good piece to use to compare with other things. So when I bring other things home, I can sniff this, sniff the other item, compare them, see what they smell like. But yeah, I don't even need to heat that up to smell that chemically smell. So they're definitely Bakelite. On to the next bracelet. Let's give this one a test. I quite like doing this. It's like doing a little school experiment, a science experiment at home. So I'm going to do it on the back section. Put my paste on. Give it a rub. Now actually I've just spotted on here that this does have some seam marks on it where it's been moulded and set. I think this has been poured into a mould, and then there's little mould marks on the top, little seams. So yeah, as suspected, absolutely no colour change to that one. So these are definitely not Bakelite. I'll hold that up to see if you can see, but just here you'll see a little ring. So I think these have been poured into a mould, and that's the seam mark on the top. So yeah, definitely not Bakelite, unfortunately. Now this piece I have not tested before, so I'm quite excited. So you will see these in the books as an example of Bakelite. So these are Mahjong tiles, and these little tiles are used in a game, and they were turned into bracelets. Now, I didn't think this was Bakelite because of the colour of it. So Bakelite, you will not find a pure white piece of Bakelite because it discolours over time. And when I think about it, this is actually a really off-white colour. So it's almost creamy in appearance. And on first inspection, having a look at each of these square beads, rectangular beads, there are no seams on there. So that is a good indication. Let's see if I can do the heat test. Give this a good rub. Okay, very, very faint smell of something, but not, I wouldn't say that that was as strong as the dress clips. So let's get another Q-tip and see if the baking soda will show us anything. One thing to remember as well is if your piece has a very glossy appearance, it may have been lacquered, and the lacquered piece will not test positive because the lacquer is a layer that goes over the top of the Bakelite. So all you would be really testing was the lacquer and not the Bakelite itself, so you wouldn't get a positive result. These are quite shiny in appearance, so give them a good rub, see what we can see. No, nothing has come up there. It could be because they are quite shiny. So it could be that they are lacquered. I'm not sure. So they're an unsure for me on that one. Now this one I picked up in a charity shop for 50p, and I didn't realise, but when I got it home, it's got a little hairline crack, and then it cracked all the way through. So I put it to one side. Somebody suggested it could be Bakelite, so I thought, well, I'll keep it and test it and see what shows up. I can't see any seam lines on it. It does have a lovely carved pattern, which they used to do that with Bakelite pieces, so a lot of the bangles, they would carve the design in there. So that was quite popular. So I'm going to put some the paste on the inside, get my Q-tip, give it a good rub. Nope. So we've got a negative result for that one. I would also, like I say, do the other tests as well. And then this piece, I was hoping and praying to the thrifting gods that this was Bakelite. I mean, look at it, it is gorgeous. It is that kind of egg yolk yellow colour for sure. So let's do a little interactive thing. Give me a yay or a nay for this one. So yay if you think it is Bakelite, and a nay if you think it isn't. And then we will test it and see. I'm going to do several tests on it. I'll do the scent test. Give it a rub. Not really getting anything from that. No, my sense of smell is not cracking, but because this one is so strong and potent, I kind of know what to look for. But yeah, it doesn't really pass the sniff test. So let's have a go with the baking soda. I'm going to do this on the inside, just on the inside of that rim. There we go. Now on this piece, I can't see any seam marks, but on the inside there are lots of lines, and I don't know if that's how it's been produced, has made those lines. I'm not sure. Give this a good rub. Fingers crossed. If this was Bakelite, it would be amazing. It cost me 50p in the charity shops. I would be over the moon. It's a nay. So no yellow colour on there, unfortunately. There is a little bit of a pinky discoloration, but that could just be some surface dirt. I did clean everything. But yeah, definitely not a distinctive yellow mark from the baking soda. So I'll put that to one side. And now we'll give everything a test with the metal polish. So you only need a little tiny amount of this. It's quite strong, and it smells quite strong as well. It's some people love the smell of it. Some people hate it. So I'm going to put a little bit on my Q-tip. There we go. Like I say, it only needs to be a little tiny splodge. And then we'll give this another test. I'm really keen to see whether anything shows positive on this. So we're going to do it on the inside again on a different spot. Hoping, praying. Please be Bakelite. Please be Bakelite. Oh. So for this one, it has actually come up. I'll hold that up there, you'll be able to see. A red colour, a pinky red, which is interesting. Now, I did read somewhere that sometimes the dye in a plastic piece can react and show up a certain colour, and this does have a bit of a reddish, orangey reddish tint to it. So I'm wondering whether it's the dye from the plastic that's actually reacted. It most certainly is not a yellow reaction. So I would say that that is not Bakelite, which is a shame because it is a nice big chunky bangle. That is something that I would have worn. I would have kept that for my own collection. Yeah, never mind. Okay, let's test some of the other pieces with the Brasso to see what we get. So back to the beginning, we'll do this one first. Trying to be careful and not splodge too much of this out, because it is really, really strong. So I'm going to test on the inside. Like I say, none of these should do any damage to your jewellery, but it's always good to do it in a little inconspicuous space just in case. Okay. No colour change there on that one. So that one didn't pass the baking soda test, and it didn't pass the metal polish test. So that's a shame. That's definitely not Bakelite. This one I suspect is lucite. We did the baking soda test on there, but we'll also do the Brasso metal polish. There we go. Oh, it's got a really strong, like, ammonia smell to it. So we're just going to test on the inside. Yeah, no colour change there, so that's definitely not a Bakelite example. Back to the necklace with the beads, we'll give that a quick test. A little splodge on there. There's so many good fakes out there, they make it very, very difficult to find the real stuff. But it is out there and you can find it. I've seen lots of success stories where people have been thrifty and then found it out in the wild. Negative result for that one. These we know got a positive result on the baking soda, so we'll do it with the Brasso as well, just so I can show you what that looks like. It's quite runny, these Brasso, so you've got to be careful not to get that everywhere. There we go. Little splodge. And again, we're going to do it on the back. Give that a rub. Fantastic. This gives such a strong positive result. If I hold that up, look at that yellow. Really strong. Get my piece of paper so that I can make sure you can see it properly. There we go. So it's a really, really strong positive yellow colour. So that is a strong positive for the apple juice Bakelite, which is awesome. Very happy with that. There we go. And all I use to clean them up afterwards is just some water wipes. So I just wipe the surface down just to remove any residue from the testing, any of the baking soda or the metal polish. Take that away. And there we go. These, I actually managed to get these in an eBay lot. So I bought a lot of jewellery, which was listed as costume jewellery, from a seller. And these were included. And there's a pair, which is amazing. You don't often see them in pairs. There we go. So they're definitely keepers for me. And I'll be able to use those to compare with other pieces. And to remind myself as well, if I have a good sniff of these in a test, it'll remind me exactly what a positive result looks like, which is awesome. So we shall move on to the stretchy bracelet that had a negative result. Again, if you want to join in, give us a yay or a nay. If you think this either yay, it is Bakelite, or nay, it isn't. And I'll do a piece on the inside again. Like I said before, because this has got a seam mark, I don't believe this is, but no. So that is definitely a nay for that one. Just clean that off. Still love all these pieces of jewellery. It doesn't really bother me that they're not Bakelite. I appreciate jewellery for lots of different reasons. So on to the next one. Could do this bangle. Yeah, no result there, just a little bit of surface dirt. So definitely not a positive. Now let's see if these react, because we didn't get a reaction from the baking soda. They look like Bakelite, but then there are fakes, so you've just got to be careful. So I get some of my solution on there, just a little bit needed. I'm going to do it on the back of this tile. I'm just going to rub that on, see what happens. Don't look. I really hoped that these were Bakelite, if I'm honest. Give us a yay or a nay in the comments. See what you think. Definitely not. That is a shame, but never mind. I still love them nonetheless, and I shall be wearing those. What else have we got to test? Did we do that one? Can't remember, so I'm going to do it again, just in case. little rub on the inside. Rub-a-dub-dub. Yeah, definitely not a positive test for that one. So unfortunately, my only bits of Bakelite are these. So there we go. Hopefully you have learnt a few things from today's video to help you. If you are a collector or you're just starting out and you're collecting it or selling it, make sure that you take good care of it. So Bakelite does go brittle over time. It patinas, which is good. Some people like the patinaed appearance of it, so don't over clean your pieces. But also store them out of direct contact with sunlight. So the sunlight will cause them to go brittle, and then you've got the risk of them chipping and cracking and getting damaged. So make sure you store them somewhere out of direct sunlight. And then if you are a collector, make sure you wear them and enjoy them. I think I so often come across people that collect vintage jewellery and they've got tons and tons of beautiful things, but they keep them all in a drawer or in a box or hidden away. And I think that is such a shame. I think if you love your jewellery, wear it, get some pleasure out of it, let it bring you some joy, let it, be seen by others, and let it be a conversational piece. Someone might spot it and say, oh, that's really unusual. And then you can have a chat about vintage jewellery and, tell people about your collection and why you love it so much. If you'd like to recap on any of the points from today's video, head over to my website, and in the blog section there is everything that's been covered today in a blog post. So yeah, feel free to head over there and have a read. And yeah, familiarise yourself, and then happy hunting. Hopefully you will find some beautiful pieces of Bakelite out there. And if you collect Bakelite yourself or you have some beautiful pieces, drop me a comment down below, let me know. I love looking at other people's collections. I like to see what people find out in the wild. And as always, I shall catch you on the next one.